If you go into meditation, some people can even hear a humming sound from the cosmos. So everything is originally from sound and a vibration. So there are two different type of. Let's see. Does it look familiar? If you live nearby a construction site. So you have different type of sound, even in this material world. Some are more present, like beautiful music, and some are just like really, really irritating, and it drives me nuts. So that is the effect sound has to our consciousness. It's tremendous. So we have to sort of have the discernment what kind of sound we want to hear, because it's going to shape our consciousness and our state of mind. And in here, I want to talk about being in touch with the divine sound on regular basis. So that the divine sound is what we commonly call the mantra. So as Louis had previously explained, the Sanskrit word mantra, so man means the mind, and tra means to deliver or to liberate or to free. So it has a power to free our mind from material bondage. And a spiritual mantra has a power to free the mind from the suffering, and ultimately reincarnation as well. It has a power to remove the karma. So the mantra is basically a combination of syllables that contain certain spiritual powers. I recently hear from one of my teachers who compared a mantra to be like a seed. So I've never heard of that before, and it was pretty striking because it totally makes sense. It's kind of like a seed of it's compared to a small seed of a big tree. Even though it looks really small, it doesn't look like a tree, but it contains all the genetic coding and all the information in the seed that has a potential to grow into a big tree. So when we chant the mantra, we're meant to water the tree with our attentive hearing. That's an offering, the nourishment we use to water the mantra, and then you gradually grow into a big tree the way it should be. So we are on our bhakti, in our bhakti path, we chant the Maha Mantra. So it's also the so-called the Hare Krishna mantra. So why is it called the Maha Mantra? Anyone knows? What does Maha mean? It's not the CDC, but it's the. Does it mean like great? Correct. So it means the greatest mantra of all, because there are a lot of mantras. Like with the in the Vedas, there are a lot of deities. There are higher beings. All of them have their own Bij mantra. It's Bij means the seed. So basically, the concept is it's like some kind of a sound technology that contain all their energies and all their properties or characteristic of certain deities. So, there are many higher beings, but in here, this Maha Mantra is the highest, the most powerful of all. It's called the Hare Krishna mantra. So how mantra works on our psychic and our consciousness is that it's able to resonate with our higher self, because we have two aspects. One is our material aspect, because we're in the body, in the physical body. And so we have a sort of lower vibration self, which is our physical body that eventually, you know, could need to change. We need to change the body. But we also have our higher self, which is our soul, the pure spirit soul. So what mantra does is it's able to resonate with our higher self and then bring that aspect of us out. So it's no longer dormant. And it's a gradual process. That's why we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. That's how it works. So there's actually a whole science behind it. It's not just, you chant and you sing, stuff like that. But you could hear it, you could feel it when you're chanting. There's certain power. So the reason why we are not feeling like, oh my God, earth-shattering, like amazing experience, is because in most cases, we struggle with our mind. The mind is unstable, and it goes like, it has problem focusing. We are not being present, and that's why we're missing out what is actually happening right now. That's the when the sound is vibrating, but when our mind is somewhere else. So we're not fully receptive of the power of the mantra. So that's a very common challenge when we chant, because it's like you're chanting, but it's not really registering, right? So this is why I also want to share some, maybe helpful tips. And, ultimately, the most important thing is our mood. Like, we need to be in a sort of like a receptive and humble mood, so that the divine energy could flow in. So that requires a little humility. Of course, there are other techniques like sitting straight that helps your mind to focus, or you can, if you have yogic skills, you can try to focus your mind a little. Dhyana. Dhyana means Zen. That means the ability to focus your mind on one point and do not waver. But that is very hard to do. So the most powerful way to approach the mantra, and the most effective way, is a very receptive and a very almost like yearning for that thing to flow in. For example, like if someone who is very proud, we usually say, oh, he or she is very full of himself, very full. That means there's not much room for things to flow in. So if we have that most humble sort of mood, then a lot will flow in from the divine source, will flow in. And that is a secret. So when that happens, the mind is automatically controlled. Otherwise, it's very hard. We can do it to a certain extent. We need to make the initial effort, try to control the mind, but it's gonna go out. It's gonna go out, but then we just bring it right back. So when we have that kind of sincerity and putting in effort, the divinity will basically help us. And then when that happens, the mind become automatically controlled. So that is a little bit of insight on how to try to, be present and when chanting the Maha Mantra. So far, is there any question? So far? I know that some of you are chanting, actually, chanting the mantra. Okay. So this is what I was talking about, the example comparing mantra as a seed. And then you water it by offering your full attention. And it would be best to chant with feelings, because it's kind of like because these are names of divinity, of the divine source. So it has everything that is in the supreme being, including personality and all kind of energies and all kind of characteristic. So chanting this mantra is about intimacy and establishing a connection with the divine. In the beginning, it's very abstract. It's kind of like, oh, I don't see the divine, but I'm chanting that thing. But as your heart become gradually purified, the divine will reveal himself to you. That aspect is a little more esoteric, but the basic way to approach it is just to try to focus the mind on the sound and try not to think about anything else. So that will be a practical, and then gradually things will start happening. So this is the ultimate, this is the original form of divinity, right? But in the form of mantra, it's like a little seed. So when we chant the mantra, we're experiencing in the beginning the little seed. But if we put in a lot of heart to it, it gradually will grow into this. So there are two different type of way to chant. One is what we just did. It's called kirtan. That is loud chanting in a group, and sometimes in the public, sometimes like in a studio, yoga studio, or in a temple room. And there's another one that is japa. That is a more private sort of soft chanting on rosaries, kind of like the Catholic do that, the Muslims do that, Buddhists also do that. Um, the I have one. So the kirtan, when we do kirtan, there are music instruments and beautiful melodies to help us to focus. The mind is attracted to beautiful music, so it's in a way a little easier. But when we chant the japa, it's in the beginning you'll be a little more challenging. You know, you're by yourself, and then there's no music. It's pure holy name. It's pure Maha mantra, and you're trying to chant that, and you know the mind could drift. But if you're patient and then continue to practice, um, little by little, you get better and better. So, like I have my personal beads here. It looks exactly like identical with Buddhist 108 beads. So obviously, Buddhism is originally from the same culture in the ancient time. So I think Louis explained that earlier. You know, the meaning of these three syllables. Hare is the divine feminine. So the feminine aspect of God or the supreme being. Krishna is the divine source himself, and Rama is the source of all happiness. So we're calling upon these sacred names of the divine source, and then it's sort of like an invocation. So when we call upon these names, these energies or these divinities will actually come. And that's why it's so important to remember that. And when we're chanting, try to be attentive, because, for example, if you invite really, important guests to your house, and then you're not paying attention when they're here, then they probably are not going to stay, right? So that's what we do quite a bit, like including myself. But it's okay, this is a material world. That's going to happen. When that happens, just try to bring it back, bring your mind back. And after a while, you get better and better. After a while, you have greater and greater mastery over your own mind, which is very important. I also want to talk about the power of being present. Okay, these are different techniques to chant. Number 4, I think that's so important. To try to chant in the heart space instead of in the head space. Because the head is where the mind is very active, and the heart is where the soul sits. So ideally, when we chant, we want to just vibrate that sound vibration in your tongue, on your tongue, and then it should just go straight to the ear. Because a lot of time you go to the head and we're thinking, So try to practice to do that, to let it go straight to the ear so it doesn't have to go to the head. And you're bypassing your mind, basically. And that's when you're really being present and experiencing the sound vibration. And then, that way it's a lot more effective. It will actually be very, very powerful. You could enter into a trance just by listening to the sound of the Maha Mantra. So in order to, basically the mind could be our best friend or our worst enemy. And this is based on, according to the Bhagavad Gita. But I think we can all experience that in our life. If your mind could be the brilliant intelligence that help you to make your career, right? To be very good with what you do. And for example, if you're really talented in playing music, whatever, you need a mind to be able to function. However, if your mind sink into a lower vibrational sort of mode, that a lot of people are so unhappy nowadays, and they have they don't feel fulfilled, or they feel bored, stuff like that. And more extreme cases is there are just a lot of mental illness around nowadays. So that's when the mind become your worst enemy. Your worst enemy live inside you. If you don't have proper mastery over your mind, you allow the mind to control you. Usually, see, this example is from the Bhagavad Gita. So that painting right there, it's a chariot, right, with horses, with drawn horses, and the guy in the back, that's a soul. In the back seat, that's a soul. He's like totally horrified. Like he is like, he doesn't know what's going on. He's completely lost control. And then the driver is intelligence. So, and the reins are the mind, and the horses represent different senses. So the horses are crazy when they're out of control. So basically, the soul doesn't know what to do because he or she is totally being controlled by the mind and the senses. Drag you around, drag the mind around to wherever the sense object is, like something that is the senses are attracted to. So ideally it should be the opposite, because there's a thing called, I would call, spiritual psychology. There's a hierarchy in our subtle body. The soul should be controlling the intelligence. The soul is the highest in this hierarchy of energy. So the soul is supposed to control the intelligence. the intelligence is supposed to control the mind, and the mind is supposed to control the senses. But in modern days, it's a lot of time it's the opposite. We're being completely controlled by the senses, and the mind, you know, we have very little control. And I guess that's why, people need medication or, stuff like that. They're feeling down. So the cure, we have the cure here. That is the yoga of divine song. By chanting the Maha Mantra, our heart become more and more purified. And when your heart it becomes more pure, it becomes much stronger. And then when your heart becomes stronger and open, then the heart has a lot more control over the intelligence. And then the intelligence can in turn control the mind. So we need to know this because we need to observe what's happening inside ourselves, and not just kind of like let it drip wherever you want to go. By understanding how this works, it becomes easier to control those material energies, which include the intelligence, the mind, and the senses. So I think a lot of people nowadays, they mistaken their intelligence and the mind to be their true self, but it's actually incorrect. The intelligence and the mind are actually what we acquire in this material world. They are material, but they are very, very subtle. So it's almost like on the soul level, but they are not. Our real self is the soul, which is most of the time sleeping. So when we operate in this material world, what's operating, what's working are our intelligence and the mind. And that's why we kind of have this misconception that is us, but that's a misidentification. So once you understand that they are not the true self, it becomes easier and more possible to break out of this bondage and to have control over them. That way, you'll have access to transcendence and divinity, because that's the only way. So the key is to try to be present and then actually perform spiritual practices. When you're present, that your spiritual practices is way more powerful and effective. So that way, the mind will gradually become purified because of the intelligence, and the heart become much more empowered and purified. So to control and to cover the mind. Okay, so we want to turn our enemy to become our best friend, which is the mind. So that's what we're trying to do here. So this is also what I want to talk about. This is the state of mind and the connection between the mind and time. So there are three parts to the time, right? To eternal time. That is the past, the present, and the future. So when the mind is very attached to the past, it is more like, it tends to feel more like regret, could have, should have, that kind of mentality, right? Because it's already over, but you're still holding on to it. You have a hard time letting go. So, and the future, it's like it's like someone who is very passionate, and they just they have a hard time enjoying the moment, and they just kind of keep looking toward the future. So that is called the mode of passion. So there are three modes. So the past is kind of like a lethargic sort of energy That is a lower vibrational, and it's translated as the mode of ignorance. But that it's very hard to translate that. But anyway, so it's sort of sleep. You're lethargic. You don't want to do anything, and somebody who is, you know, for example, it's not to judge, but somebody who is completely like addicted to drugs. That's more like the past. Yeah, that mode, that kind of energy. So the future is somebody who's like have a lot of lust in for life and has a lot of passion and is like maybe very impatient, stuff like that. And people who can be very present, that is called the mode of goodness in Bhagavad Gita. And when you're in this state of mind, when you're very present, you are the closest, not quite yet, but you're at the place where you're the closest to transcendence. So I would say that is your only gateway to access the divine. So when we chant the mantra, that will be the most ideal state of consciousness, the state of mind to chant the mantra. That's when you actually hearing every single sound syllables, every single sound that you're vibrating. If you focus on the future, for example, when you're chanting the mantra, right? And then you're thinking, oh, what am I gonna eat for lunch? Right? Mm-hmm. So you're not really hearing the mantra. So you're missing out, and the chanting won't be as effective. It will still be purifying, but it's not gonna be its full glory, its full experience. And if you constantly lament about the past, that's also, you're not focused on the present. So being in the present, it's technically that is still a material energy, but that is the highest frequency in this material world that you could get, which is the closest to transcendence. So that's sort of your gateway. When you're in that mode, when you stay in that mode, often or most of the time, hopefully, it's easier for you to connect with the supreme, with the divine source. So that's where you want to chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, and that's where you could experience, the full potential, the most power, the most effect. Is there any questions so far? Yes.
So what are your tips on staying in the present?
Yes, that's a very good question.
Some people are like stuck on trauma, which is the past, and there's folks who are anxious about the future.
Yes, so, that's very normal. That's very common. For a more material conscious mind, like material consciousness. And we all have that because we have to survive. We're dealing with this world. We have to work and everything. We have to function. We have to get ahead, Well, we're trying to be spiritual, but we still need to live, right? We have a body. So I think the best way to approach this is just be very practical and recognize you have this challenge. And Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita actually say, even he cannot fully control his mind. He said the mind is like crazy horses. Trying to control the mind is like trying to control wind. So Arjuna was not only a great warrior, but a great yogi 5,000 years ago. He was extremely powerful. His father is Indra, was a god, but he couldn't. So we can only control our mind to a certain extent, but that's what I was saying earlier, is we have to make the initial effort. And then And then I'm gonna have to touch a little bit on a little more esoteric aspect of chanting the Maha Mantra. Is well, none of us has a power to fully control our mind, because the mind is a product of material energy. The material energy is Krishna's divine energy, the great goddess, basically. Um, she is supreme in the material world. But anyway, we make the initial effort, and then if you want to dive deeper into chanting the Maha Mantra, actually, this divine mantra are personalities. They are people. They are divine. They're divine persons. They are not impersonal sound. So when they see like you're making such an effort, there will be a thing called mercy that could be invoked, and then that could empower us to do things that's like superhuman. That's normally impossible, and that's when your mind become truly controlled. It's not by your own effort, your own powers, but it's by God's grace, basically. So, but to enter into that realm, you need to really put in a lot of heart and effort and just persevere. It could take however long. It could be, but if you have enough intensity, it could be like in a few months. It's totally possible. You can chant for like 10 years and with not much progress, but if you have that intensity, for example, the life event you go through in this world, that's never easy. In Kali Yuga, we're in this Kali Yuga, in this material world. All of us have certain challenges. Even people who have the best karma, you don't know what they're dealing with, right, in their private life. So if you chant the Maha Mantra daily, you can channel that frustration or whatever, that you know mm, that frustration, or that not feeling satisfied, you can channel into that your chanting. So it's kind of like you're you're asking, or you're begging for the divine to have an intimate relationship with you. And it sounds very far out, but that's eventually, you get to that state. That's what you have to do, because you can do all kind of techniques, but you can only last for like not even a minute, a few minutes. Right? Your mind stay fixed, and it's gonna start shifting. But the mind is so powerful. It's the most powerful material energy. It's not you, again, by the way. So that's why in our Bhakti tradition there is a prayer by Lord Chaitanya, um, who was Krishna's most recent incarnation. And then he left a few verses that's all about humility. So being humble. Because if you really understand your true position in the material world, life is, we live a few decades, and then who knows? Like we're like, our position. So we're very small. We're kind of like, if the divine is a huge fire, we are like a little ember that fell out of that fire, a little spark. So if we really understand ourselves, it's natural to be humble in the face of the divine. So when you're in that proper mood, your chanting will be so powerful, and controlling the mind become completely possible. So that's how, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how common it is, but I experienced something called racing thoughts, and they're very intrusive. And I've been through a lot of things that most people didn't survive. So a lot of times, like even if I try to concentrate, I keep hearing these, you know what I'm saying, these bad thoughts about the past and whatnot. So, do you think the mantra chanting and perhaps some medication from the shrink would help?
It depends on how serious it is. I usually I don't really believe in any medication. Sometimes it makes it worse. But if it is really acute, maybe it's necessary. But and sometimes it's the mind, but sometimes it could also be um, outside forces that's affecting you. You know, in the subtle on the subtle level. So chanting the mantra definitely. And it's not like I'm saying it, but there's a scripture that actually say one of the side effect. This is it's not even the real effect of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is it could wall off all the negative forces from the external. I'm not talking about your own mind, but you know, sometimes they come in through here, the back of your head. Yeah. So you should definitely start chanting soon. Yes.
Just a comment.
Yes.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. And I was thinking that when we take up the process of mantra meditation, then we sometimes get a little impatient.
Yes.
And so one of the great teachers, he says, you have to endeavor with patience and determination. If you only have patience, you're not going anywhere.
Mm.
And if you only have determination or confidence without patience, then actually you're gonna fry yourself out or burn yourself out. So endeavoring with patience and determination, and also cultivating a lifestyle that supports the mantra meditation is also really nice.
Yes, yes.
There's a certain, as he was speaking about, there's the different modes, and there's certain modes that are more favorable for chanting, like for meditation. Like for example, if I'm a recovering alcoholic, then it's not convenient if my apartment is right above a bar.
Yes.
You know? So as much as possible, we try to add the meditation, which is the primary thing, but also to maybe shift our lifestyle to principles that are more on the intelligent path and more goodness path. That's helped me a lot personally.
That's a very important point because in the Ashtanga yoga, you know, in the A4 process, the first one is actually yama, is abstinence. You know, you don't want to do, you want to remove certain lifestyle behavior that is not good for your consciousness. And just talking about myself, I actually quit drinking like a few years ago. And the reason I did was because it was interfering with my japa, with my mantra meditation. And I had occasional really positive experiences with my japa chanting. So I want to protect it. You know, and I feel like the how you feel when you chant the japa is so amazing. It's not worth, you know, like getting buzzed, because that's a very low vibrational kind of enjoyment, sense enjoyment, and that it's not comparable. So, but if you are very sincere and you persevere, you keep chanting anyway, a lot of bad things will leave you gradually, including what you were talking about, or you know, lifestyle. You know, that become very natural. You just naturally, basically the mantra has a power to change our taste, to elevate, and so our taste become more and more refined, so we no longer need, you know, like to gratify, you know, is that lower vibrational level.
It's interesting you said that. I went to my very first AA meeting this morning. So it's interesting you saying about the alcohol. I went to my very first AA meeting this morning. Trying to change.
That could help. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's it. Thank you, guys, for listening, and thanks for your patience. Yeah.
So we'll just do a little bit more mantra meditation. Let's give it another big round of applause to Chimin. So it's he's been practicing for decades, but he's kind of like a hidden gem because he's never actually spoken in a class before. This is a great class, right? Agreed? It was so succinct and it was so nicely put, and the slides were. You painted those, or AI? He's a professional animator, so worked on the biggest movies. But getting back to the mantra meditation, as we have explained, that there's two types of meditation. There's the japa, which is the meditation with the mantra, and kind of silently to yourself. And I'll give an announcement about that after the kirtan. And this is called kirtan, which is what Lewis did in the beginning, which is kind of a meditation that we do together. So kind of like japa is like pills. If you're sick, you take some pills. And kirtan is like an injection, when you need something like fast. So japa is very good as a kind of daily practice, but whenever possible, we try to come together and do kirtan. The reason is that he was saying is that how much power and how much, as in Sanskrit we say shakti, do we have individually is maybe very minuscule. But when we come together and we have one offering together, it's like you take one stick and it's very easy to break. But you take a bundle of sticks, very hard to break. So when we come together and we chant, then actually the vibration becomes very powerful. And I hope you're able to experience that. So we're gonna do this for like 5-10 minutes. As Chimin was saying, if your mind may be saying, okay, what train am I going to take home, and what am I going to do tomorrow? Just say that, okay, I'll get to those thoughts. Maybe in like, what's that sound behind underneath us? It's the G train. So our mind will try to distract us in so many ways. Just say, okay, mind, I'll fulfill your desires. I'll think about these things, but just give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. Let me ignore this for a second, and let me just try to focus on the mantra. So I'll be chanting it once, and then you guys can chant it as well. And feel free to clap. Feel free to get up and dance if you'd like. Yeah, and we'll get to it. And it's the same mantra as before. Let's see if we remember it. Can you repeat after me? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. You guys are natural. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama One more time. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama One more time. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everyone loudly. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more last time. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Let's give a big round of applause to Sevika for the Madanga playing, and all of you guys for making it such a powerful experience.